Hey everybody! Today we are going to be making an underwater picture that has a sea turtle in it. We are going to start by folding our paper into quarters. So I am going to fold up my paper. I line up my top edge, hold it to the table, then I pull toward me, then I go out to the side and out to the side. From there, what I am going to do is I'm going to hold this and I'm going to fold it like I'm making a card. So again, I line up my edges here, hold them to the table, out, and press that fold down. So now I have a smaller paper. And what I am going to do is unfold the whole thing. And you will see that I have some creases on my paper now. The next thing that we are going to do is start drawing our sea turtle. So to get everything laid out properly, that's why we folded our paper. What we are going to do is we are going to draw a little bit of a hill above the middle. So this is where the fold is. And I am going to curve up and over, and just like that. Then I'm going to curve again underneath, but I don't want it to be a circle, almost like an eyeball shape. So I'm going to not come down, I'm going to kind of slant in a little bit. And so I'm going to slant in and back up. So you'll see that there's almost like these 2 points. From here, we're going to make another part of the shell. This is the main part of the shell. And I am going to come out a little bit, out a little bit. I'm going to make that come out a little bit farther. And then I'm going to follow this curve all the way and connect. So now it almost looks like a UFO, a little bit. The next part that we are going to make is the head that comes out of the shell. And we are going to slant out and curve down. I'm going to bring it down a little bit more. Okay. Then what I am going to do is I am going to make a line. I'm going to start a little bit in. And I'm going to make a line out. And then I'm going to curve down and then back to the body, so back to the shell. After this, I'm going to make a nice big eyeball. And inside of that, I'm going to make a smaller one. And inside of that, I'm going to make an even smaller one. And what I am going to do is not the very teeny tiny one, but I am going to color in that medium one. So now it looks like there's a little shine and I have a cute little cartoon eye. Next, we need to add some fins or flippers. And so sea turtles, the front are much more like flippers. It's an adaptation so that they can swim a lot better in the water. So we are going to curve down and out. Okay, and I've crossed into this part of my paper. And then we're going to start with a curve. Okay, so this is making the back part of that fin. But then you're going to kind of wiggle it. And that makes it look like a flipper. From here, we're going to make the back leg. And we are going to come out, do a little wiggle, and back to the shell. Now we would also see part of the shell underneath behind these flippers. It's going to be for our turtle's belly. So I'm going to leave some space and I am just going to pick up, pretend I'm drawing, and then I'm going to make it get skinnier back here. Okay, so now I have a turtle belly. At this point, we're going to start adding some of our fun details on the turtle. So I am going to add some shapes. Your shapes do not need to match mine. And notice that I am leaving space around them. They're not touching. And what that is going to do is that is going to give me the ability to color with two different colors on my turtle's shell. One for the spots, and then one for the background for those spots. And if your spots are a little bit different, or if they're going in different directions, that's okay. You do want to make sure that you are using the whole space of your turtle shell though. Okay, so now I have those. I'm going to add some extra lines along this part of the shell. This is kind of like the outer edge of the shell. Sometimes you might see some spots on the turtle, and so I'm going to add some on the front part of that flipper, and maybe the front part of this one too. Just some little ones. They don't need to be huge. They don't need to be all over. And that looks pretty good. The next step is to work on our background. You may add whatever background details you want, but one of the things that we are going to show is we're going to really show that this is under the water. So we are going to add a line, and you can make it wavy like this. You could make it just wiggly. That would be fine. But we are going to draw, so that's the top of the water, and all of this is under the water. So you might add some extra fish in the background. You would also potentially add a ground on the bottom. So I'm going to draw like some seaweed and coral, and then I'm going to draw my background because I want it to look like this. Maybe there's some coral like right in the front. Now maybe I'll add my ground. And now if I add something on the ground line, it would look like it's a little bit farther away than the coral is. So you could add some seaweed growing up. You could add some more coral if you really like how that looked. So I am going to continue to add some fun details to my sea turtle picture, and I will check back in a minute. At this point, I'm pretty close to done. I'm not sure if I want to add some more fish or not, but I would expect you to have a bit more on your paper in the background. At this point, I am going to start to color. So I am going to color in my turtle, and I want you to notice how I am coloring it in. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take a regular green, and I am going to color around all of those spots. If you don't want to use green and you want to use a different color, absolutely fine. But what I really want to see is you working on coloring in the space around. So we're practicing coloring around our shapes neatly and carefully. And then we're going to go back in and we're going to color our shapes in a different color. So this way we're showing, hey, we're putting some effort into our work by using multiple colors and taking our time, showing some craftsmanship and doing a nice, neat, careful job. So you'll notice that it looks a lot better than if I was just coloring over those shapes and only using one color. Those shapes wouldn't stand out as much. And you can choose what two colors you'd like to use. It's really up to you. I'm going to use a regular green, and then I'm going to use the yellow-green color. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my yellow green and color in the shapes that I left white so that this way they look different. All right, so now I'm going to move on and I'm going to continue with the yellow green and the regular green to color in the rest of my turtle. Then I will work on coloring in the rest of my paper, and I will check in when I am all done. At this point, I have finished my sea turtle in his habitat, except for that little fish right there. So I want you to notice that I colored my entire paper. The whole entire thing has been colored in. On the shell, I used two different colors. For the main part, I used a yellow green and a green. In here, all I did was I used that regular green, and I pressed firmly, I pressed lightly, I pressed firmly, I pressed lightly. So I think it turned out pretty well. Maybe I could have added a few more things coming up this way and a little more in the background, but that way you can come up with some of your own ideas for your sea turtle's habitat. So think about what things might a sea turtle need to eat, where would it hide, and anything else you think your sea turtle would enjoy in their habitat. I hope you enjoyed following along, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.